Hi, Keely.
Hi,
How are you?
Maria. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So today we're doing this podcast in terms of me as a personal branding and influencer coach,
Yes.
and you as a success coach.
Yes.
So where should we start from?
I think we should start from understanding the difference between what a personal branding coach is and what an influencer coach is, because I know that you've just launched a new course and I was looking at it and it looks great. And I just wanted to know the difference, what kind of people would buy the influencer course and what kind of people would, where's the kind of, do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes. So basically the difference between a personal brand and an influencer is that in the industry terms, what we mean to say with influencer is someone that can work on behalf of brands.
Okay.
So brands would use his or her audience to associate with to promote their products or their campaign or whatever they are launching or promoting. Okay. An influencer doesn't necessarily need to be a personal brand. It can be, okay? It is at the end of the day, but it's not someone that needs to create an identity around his own personal brand. It's more someone of influence that has some type of leverage on an audience. While a personal brand is also an influencer because, okay, it can have an influence on his audience, but his audience is a very targeted audience that he built or she built based on the product or brand that he is selling. So it's more like me as an influencer coach nowadays, I am structuring my page as a personal brand that is the influencer coach.
Yeah.
While an influencer needs to direct an audience more on brands, on other brands that he partners up with.
Okay.
While for me, it's I want to sell my own product. I want to promote myself as an influencer coach. I want to have clients based on that. And so I am a personal brand.
Okay.
I'm offering both things, but at the moment the course is only for influencers, but I will launch soon a course for personal brand as well, because I think that a lot of people are more in that category rather than the influencer category. There is a lot of confusion though.
Yeah, I was confused. Obviously, I think unless you've been in the industry for a while, so you understand how the difference is. But when I was becoming new to the industry, I realised that an influencer gets all these paid collaborations, but like you just said, a personal brand is making money off your own kind of services and stuff. So it's just good to know the difference. So you're targeting people now to build their profile up to become an influencer, and then you'll be moving on to doing the personal brand.
Yes, I will do both actually, because I understand that people might have different goals, but in general, I think that people ask me, how come that you do so many different things? Because I am my own boss in terms of I have my own company, and the company is basically a marketing agency. I have been doing influencer management for 5 years now, also through the company. I have been an influencer myself, and now I'm a coach.
Yeah.
And they say, how can you manage all these things? Like, what do all these things have in common? Apart from being all more or less around the social media. But what they have in common is that all of them, they represent owning a business, being your own boss. Because even in the moment you become an influencer, you have a business. In the moment you do a personal brand, you have a business. Now, forget about the trade license and this and that, because it's not about that. It's about how you present yourself out there and how you want to make money. It's through yourself. You don't have someone paying you a salary, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same.
Yeah. And I think you can tell me if I'm wrong, but you need to have almost like a business plan for how you want your social media to look and what kind of brands you want to attract and all that kind of stuff.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And look, before I started being an influencer manager, because my whole career started when I was hired by an agency to be a talent manager. It was influencer manager basically. And I remember that I started that job thinking that influencers were like where anyone with a lot of followers, and in the moment you have a lot of followers, you get brands deals because you're famous. Then the moment I started, okay, like the same day I started, I understood, okay, there are many things here that people don't know and don't have even the remote idea. And it's not that difficult. Like in the moment that someone explains it to you, you start seeing these things. You start understanding what are the real important things. But for some reason, I don't know, these things are not talked about. I always say this even in my videos and in my stories on Instagram. Like when you go to the pages of marketing coaches or social media gurus or even influencers themselves that want to teach other people how to be influencers, they never talk about these things that are the most important. Like for example, the audience. How important is the geographic audience that you have? It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 followers, but you have them from a place that no brands care about. It doesn't matter, you know. Or how important it is, for example, to present yourself in a certain way. So having a media kit, having a portfolio, knowing how to reach out to brands, understanding which brands have marketing budget, because you can think, oh, I want to work with this brand, and then you discover later on that they don't have marketing for influencers, because some brands, their policy is actually no influencer. So it doesn't matter how much you like the brand and how much you feel you are fit for the brand. And it's the same for personal branding. The problem is that why I think that personal branding and influencing cannot be taught in the same course is because it's a very different type of audience. It's a very different type of building, like a profile, and yes, a very different business plan in terms of how to post and so on.
Is it so? Okay, so just so I understand clearly, so an influencer is somebody who promotes brands, and a personal brand is somebody who sells a service. Is that like the simplest?
Yes.
Yeah.
Look, a personal brand can also do association with brands, okay? But it would be so niche and so strategic, you know? Like influencers, they are more wide, they are more broad, let's say. Then of course you can find also influencers that are very niche, because you can find influencers that are fitness for a specific type of people or so on, but still they can associate themselves with many brands. While a personal brand, why would he or she associate themselves with brands when they want to sell their own product? And don't get me wrong, it's not only about selling their own product or their own service. It can be also a doctor that works in a hospital, so it's not even his own company, let's say. Or it can be a real estate agent that want to sell more properties. So it doesn't have to be directly your own service, but it's, you want to just create leads for yourself. I personally think personal branding is the future, to be honest with you, even more than influencing, because everyone now is on social media, and everyone should be on social media. So when people tell me I don't have a social media page, what do you mean? It's not even because I am social media addicted or something like that. It's because I really think there is so much potential there that why not?
See, I agree with you 100%, and the way that the world's moving forward, I know that you have to have social media, but do you ever think that having social media can be like toxic sometimes and
Yes.
unhealthy? Maybe
Yes,
toxic,
in the
not
same
right.
way, I think that eating chocolate can be toxic. Meaning that you need to know how much and which type, you know. So I hear so many people saying that social media is so toxic and it teaches people to do stupid things and fake and blah, blah, blah. To be honest with you, social media for me, especially TikTok, the people like they don't even believe me when I say it. I learned so much from it. So much, because the people I follow and the way I made the algorithm target me is just educational content. So I only see people that are actually talking about, I don't know, self-improvement, whether it's money, whether it's spiritual, but like I learn so much. And of course I don't spend my whole day there. So my thing, like my point is that everything can be toxic if you don't know how to use it, or if you abuse it, or if you exaggerate on it. You know, it's like, this is why I like to do the analogy with the chocolate, because chocolate, dark chocolate, 55% cocoa pure, etc., is super healthy if you eat it 1 square a day. But if you start eating 1 ton a day, of course it won't be healthy. So it's always on what type and the measure. It's always that. But why? What do you think? You think that sometimes social media is toxic?
Wow, I think that it can be, but I agree with what you say, that you have to have everything in moderation. But I go through little bouts where I'm on there all the time, and for some reason now my feed on Instagram, because I'm on Instagram more than TikTok, is just animals, and I can spend hours looking at animals, and I'm like, and then I stop and I'm like, oh my god, what have I just been doing that whole time? So I think it can kind of like consume you. And I'm sure as well that, you know, if you go on Instagram first thing in the morning before you get ready and go to work and whatever, I feel like it drains my energy. I feel like putting so much energy into just scrolling and watching what other people do, not even from a place of comparison or anything like that. I mean, just watching simple content. I feel like it can become really addictive and draining. But
look, from like after working on social media for 5 years, I can tell you that there are for sure things that can drain your energy, because it's a constant exposure and it's a constant access to other things that are external to your life and the focus on yourself, okay? And for sure there are people that are toxic, or anyway there is content that is toxic, because a lot, I would say 70%, 80% of the social media content in general, it's always making other people envious, especially on Instagram. Like Instagram, it's all about aesthetics, and unfortunately in the moment you have to do aesthetics, you have to put a version of yourself that is the best one, the best looking, doing the best things, etc. So I understand that people compare themselves with other people, but as an influencer manager, I know how to translate every single one of those posts I see, not only because I'm an influencer manager, but also because I've been an influencer myself, and I kind of know how social media works, even the algorithm and everything, like the strategy behind it. So I never take a post that I see as a post. This is the life of that person. I always try to see what's behind it, like why would someone post this and that. The second thing is that, yes, even if you don't follow those type of like comparison profiles, I understand what you mean, that if you open it first thing in the morning, but because you are exposed to too much information when you're still in your bed, there should be an alone time. But again, it depends. Like, it's just because it's an addiction. Like, it's up to us to understand how to use it.
Discipline. That's my word of the year, discipline.
Your word of the year.
Yeah, I feel like discipline is really needed in everybody's life to kind of navigate your way through everything. Discipline is just, it's something that I've personally lacked. You know, you have goals, you have dreams, and then if you don't have the discipline, nothing ever comes into fruition. So I feel like in my life, I've started things and I just haven't had the discipline to see it all the way through to the end, but I wasn't aware that what I was lacking was discipline. So discipline is the word of the year.
I have a question for you then. A tricky one. Don't you think that sometimes discipline... this is a difficult question. Don't you think that sometimes you just need the right path rather than discipline? Because I can tell you something. There have been moments in my life in which okay, the first thing I would look at is social media. In the moment I wake up, because I'm stressed, because it's my job, because I don't know what. But nowadays I don't, just because, not because I have discipline, but because I don't need it. So do you think that you have to force yourself to have discipline, or you think that it comes, like good habits, they come from discipline, or they come from like a good place?
I think it really depends on what kind of a person that you are, because I've always been the kind of person, I'll go with the flow, nothing's too serious. You know, if this doesn't work out, I'll end up over here and that will be great. I've never had any kind of structure in my life, but I've always got to where I've wanted to be. It just hasn't really had a structure. And when I've got there, I'm ready to move on to the next thing. So, but then I know people who are really disciplined and structured, but they're too far disciplined and structured. They don't let any flow come in. They kind of follow in a path and it has to be that way. And there's no room for any kind of outside opinions. So I need a bit of discipline, because I've realised that, you know, it's great to go with the flow, but for what I want to achieve, it requires me to kind of take control of the reins a little bit and navigate, whereas other people have the opposite problem, where they need to like let go a little bit and kind of flow with the current.
You know, actually, it's weird that your word of the year, so for you it's the word of the 2023 is discipline.
Wow, it's
and
not
mine
health, no, it's
is
discipline.
go with the flow.
Oh, really?
Yes. Like, I think we are opposite on this, in this sense, but it's good, because in my life there always have been too much discipline.
Yeah.
You know, and especially from me, from myself, like I have always been someone very organized, very, you know, like if I start something I have to finish it. Like it was always like this. So I think that in my case I needed to actually be less disciplined in that sense.
We'll swap traits. We'll swap for a little bit.
What do you think, as a success coach, what do you think is the simplest way you could advise someone to adopt to achieve success?
I think that everybody defines success differently. I define success as how you feel about yourself, where you are on your journey. So everything has to kind of feel aligned. In my opinion, there's no point in pursuing something that you don't like. So you have to find your alignment and understand who you are as a person, what you want to achieve. Is it okay, I'm just going to quickly do a full circle. So I've wanted to achieve things in life because I've liked the idea of achieving something. When I've achieved that thing, I've realised that actually the feeling that I got from it wasn't what I thought it would be. So that's not my alignment. So I still don't feel successful. So that kind of triggered me onto a introspective healing journey where I've had to realise, actually, if, you know, I was stranded on an island and I had to just time to think about who I want to be, there's no pressure from anybody, no pressure from society or parents or whatever, who would I choose to be then, and what would I do? Because the way society is constructed, we forget what our passions are and what our hobbies are, because we're too busy chasing what we think we want or what other people want for us. So back to the original question, which was, how do you find your success? Find yourself. Find yourself, and then from that you'll just feel successful, and you'll find your journey, and you'll find your alignment, and everything will just...
You know, this is interesting because for how I am, okay, being a personal branding coach, like my personal branding client, okay, that I coach one-on-one in this moment, and all the people that want to become an influencer and etc. I think that the main point to be successful in these journeys, okay, they all come from together, at least, because apart from the business plan, the strategy, the guidelines that you need to know, the tips and tricks and this and that, you always need to start from an analysis of yourself, especially for the personal branding. Like, you need to understand why you want to achieve that. And in the moment you need to find your niche, your target audience, so your niche, that is where all my clients panic. Because you need to choose, basically. You need to, okay, why? In general, people, they want to make money out of it, okay? It's always that. The goal is making money, which I understand. I have nothing against it. Why would you do something if it wasn't to make money? Like, at this point, instead of becoming a personal brand, go to the beach all day, right? So, okay, making money, but why? Like, for what? What is the purpose of it, of that? Like, once you make that money, what would you do with it? First. And second is, okay, now, why do you want to be a personal brand, or why do you want to be an influencer? Like, what are the things about yourself that can influence people, that can, or that you want to build your identity around? And people get very lost. Like, people don't know how to reply to that. And I know why, because in general, people, they, as you said, they chase something that they think they want because society wants us to want it, and it's the money, okay? Or in case of the influencer, or it's the success, the fame, the lot of followers, because it sounds good, because there is this hint, let's say, of vanity on it as well, which is completely healthy. Like, I understand that people wants to be famous, but then is okay, and when you have to actually go to the basics to understand, okay, where do we start, is where you see people lost, because they actually lost themselves. Like, they want to become an influencer. Why? Because it's easy, they think, because it's easy money, because I get things for free, because I am famous, because I will get brands collaboration and stuff. Yes, but how do we reach till there? By posting content, okay, about, you know, those are the questions that people get always stuck on. Not even because they don't know what to reply, but because they don't know which one to choose.
And how, like, this is where the kind of the business strategy comes back into being an influencer or having a personal brand, because you have to know what your end goal is. No, like, who, you don't have to know exactly who you're becoming, but you kind of have to have an understanding of yourself to make sure that you stay aligned on your journey. Because I don't know, but I can imagine that for people who want to start out on the influencer journey, they just want brand deals to start with. They just want the brand deals. They just want the money, which is, like, fine. It's understandable. But how can you then make sure that all of these collaborations that you're getting are actually in alignment with who you are becoming and who you are, and make sure that you're staying true to yourself while you're doing it, and not just accepting all of the collaborations that come your way because actually you don't even use that brand? Or
I don't even think that the main reason why people want to become influencers is to have brand deals. Okay. I don't even think it's that. It's money as an end goal, but it's but I think it's more about the fame, because they think that with the fame, with being invited to events, with going to the fashion week, with being like, with having audience like that, they will network enough to reach money in many ways, not only brands, but maybe, I don't know, events, going to podcasts, things like that. And you ask, how can you stay true to yourself in the moment you do all of this? I think that is the main question that people that are already influencers and they are stuck and they are not growing and they are not going exactly where they wanted to, and etc., need to ask themselves, because when you say you have to have an end goal, this is true for life as well, okay? Like, you have to have an end goal. Then it doesn't matter how the things you will do in the middle, you can figure them out step by step. But there has to be an end goal. Can be anything. Can be, oh, I want to go live in Antarctica. Okay, very good. And be a trainer for seals in Antarctica. Or saving seals there. I would love that.
Me too, it sounds great.
But not the Antarctica, the cold, no. But so you start moving towards it. So you do one step at the time. I think that the problem with influencers, and it's not because it's their fault, I think it's because it's an industry system, okay? It's that you start like that, so you start taking the first brand deals, and then you get too much into it because you want to make money, you start getting to these networking events, you see what people are doing, you want to do it as well, and so on, you get a bit lost. And then I said it even in one of my videos, the problem with influencers is that they homologate. They want to all copy each other because they see, oh, she's doing that, I want to do it as well, let me copy her because it means that works. And I think this is one of the main problems because influencers are creators as well. Like, they are creative people. So in the moment they create a content is because they have to put their creativity on it. When they start copying each other, that is lost. So this is where they become commercial. They lose their authenticity. And they also start getting all these campaigns that can be good in terms of money, but then it's not aligned with who they are because they are too mainstream, the campaigns. And they feel that I wanted something less mainstream. Yeah, but now you homologated. And it's not because you chose to do that campaign, it's because you started copying people that you thought they were doing better than you. And I see this a lot, and I saw this a lot in the past 5 years, like people really getting lost and feeling that they were like being cut out while they were not, maybe at that moment. You always have to keep your end goal in mind, always.
I think that's the same in all areas of life, keeping your end goal in mind. That's the only way that you can stay on track.
Look, I always say this about Dubai as well, by the way, because I have to be honest with you. Like, when I moved to Dubai, I did it. I had a goal. I still have it somehow, but I feel that in the 7 years I've been here, I lost it at some point. Like, I lost the focus, and one day I started feeling miserable, so miserable. It was maybe 1 year ago. And I started asking myself, what's wrong? And I started working on myself on that until I understood, okay, I lost the real reason why I started all this. Because I got so sucked into this, okay, I have to make it, I need to be successful, I need to be, I'm an entrepreneur, so I need to make it, like all this anxiety that I put on myself, that you lose really the enjoyment of the process and also the reason why you started. You just run after it ends up with you chasing money and success, money and power. It's always that, and the right connections and and you always want to be at the top, which is fine because it's competitivity. But I wasn't like that at the beginning. So I'm like, why did I allow things to make me like that? This is why it's always good to keep an end goal in mind.
Definitely. And what you said about enjoying the process, that's so really, really important as well, because I was thinking recently that one of my biggest regrets would be getting to a certain age and looking back and thinking, I achieved everything I wanted, but I didn't have fun, or I didn't enjoy the process, or I was so busy working and struggling and, chasing goals and dreams that looking back, it wasn't the dream because it just wasn't fun. So Another word of the year this year is fun, because I'm going to start to enjoy the process. Instead of I get something, I manifest something, it comes, and then I think to myself, what next? What next? I don't even give myself a day to be like, yay, I've achieved this, well done me, or I don't celebrate myself, I don't celebrate my success. But if I have a bad day, I'm very quick to be like, oh, you're so stupid, you can't do anything right, da 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 da. So I want to kind of shift it over and celebrate myself more, enjoy the process more, and just make sure that when I do get to a certain age that I don't have any regrets at all, because consciously every day I'm going to be thankful for the journey, even if it's not going the way that I want it to go that day. Every hour of every day serves its purpose.
Yes, I know what you mean, and I realized this late. I thought, I thought I had it, you know. I think that what most people don't realize is that you don't even realize you're miserable until it's kind of too late. I don't know how to explain that. And if you ask me, I would tell you, no, I was so happy. Like at that time, if you ask me, are you miserable? I would say, no, I'm so happy. And I was convinced I was, okay? But then you reach a point and you say, maybe I could have been even happier. Maybe actually that was miserable, because it's like you say, like you achieve something and you're already on the next thing that you have to achieve. So you feel you are part of something, you know, you feel like I am building something, I am part of a project or whatever you want to call it. And then in the moment you have a break is where you cannot handle it, because it's like, okay, what am I doing with myself now? You know, and I think that is so interesting, because I see so many people around us like this, so many. It's
unhealthy. It's actually unhealthy to always be thinking about your career and about work and about success. It's unhealthy to obsess over it, and I do it all the time. Like, I'll be, the first thing I think about when I wake up is I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And that's if I'm in a good state of mind. If I'm in a bad state of mind, I'm like, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I haven't done this, I'm not getting anywhere. But really, like, again, when you look back, you've achieved everything that you said you was going to achieve, but you're not recognizing it in the moment, so it can be unhealthy.
But what you said is interesting, because basically you said that we identify ourselves in our career, right? And I think this is the main problem of society nowadays, especially for millennials, okay? We all reach this state of my career is who I am, and what happens in my career will define who I am. And if I'm successful, I will be happy, and so on. And especially in my case, now this might be not true for everyone, but in my case, love has always been an obstruction to career, okay? Like, love has always been something that was, I don't know, leave it at the end, because first you have to reach there, and if you start falling in love and having relationships, you will not reach the goal, it will be a distraction, and so on. And a lot of people see it like that, at least from people I know. And then you realize why? Like, why did we make our career and our, let's say, money-related life, because career is basically money-related life, so important that it defines and it precludes us to do anything else, you know, or defines us. Like, if today I don't make a sale, I'll go home, I will feel like a failure. It doesn't matter how much I might have done during the day on a personal level. You know what I mean?
If you had love, would you still feel the same if you hadn't done a sale?
Oh, well, that I don't know, because I don't have it.
No,
I don't know.
The reason I asked is because we're both obviously in situations where we're not really in love, and we both prioritize our career over a lot of things. But I love the idea of love. I'd love to be in love. I'd love that. But because of my previous relationships, I've kind of got an unhealthy memory of what love is. So I don't know if this is a thing, but as you was talking and as I was talking, I thought to myself, maybe if we were in a healthy relationship and we had love surrounding us, would we still have the thoughts that we have about our career and success, or would there be less pressure on ourselves? So that's interesting.
That's interesting, but I can tell you, I don't think that one would exist without the other, meaning that you wouldn't wake up with all this anxiety if you were building something with someone on the other side, okay? Because when you are alone, you feel so responsible of yourself, and you feel so responsible of every decision you do, that you put all the pressure on yourself. So you wake up obsessed with your career because it's also a safety measure, let's say. When you are with someone and you're building something with them, a bit of the pressure can lift from your shoulders, because it's divided half, and it's for a specific goal. Because at least in the moment you have a person, you know you are building towards a goal with that person, a life with that person. When you are building alone, unfortunately, you will never have a super specific goal, because we're humans, and humans, we need to be in relationships, not only romantic, but I mean, we need to be connected with each other. It's how we survive. So I think is that, and then I also think another thing is this. You said, do you think that if we were in love, we would still feel this pressure? Because you said healthy relationship, okay? And I want to say one thing regarding the healthy relationship. First of all, when you are so obsessed with career and stuff, it's very difficult to find love, because there is no space for that type of energy. Your energy is all focused there. It's even more difficult to find a healthy relationship, because if you are so like a workaholic, if you want to find someone healthy, most probably he's not a workaholic, right? So it wouldn't be a match, most probably. But apart from that, something that I spoke with my therapist lately is, like, I was telling her, look, I'm 30, I have my own business, and not only the company. As you know, like, I have the online course, I'm a personal branding coach, I have been an influencer, like, I put up so many things, and I showed myself that I can provide for myself, that I love myself, that I think I'm a successful person, like, whatever. All the love I could show to myself, I did it. It's not enough anymore. Like, I'm sorry. I know it's against everything, the life coaches and, all those motivational speakers are talking about. But I can't. Like, I'm not enough for myself anymore. Like, it was interesting while I was doing it, because, okay, I was, like, discovering myself. Now I did all of this, and I'm like, okay, nice. Good job, Maria. But I'm not enough anymore. Like, I want to share it with someone, you know? And so I told her, and it was the first time in my life I've ever said something like that, because not a romantic person. Okay. I told her, I want love now. I want to build something with someone. I want a real deep connection. I want to share my successes with someone, and so on. Even my fears with someone, and his fears with me, and so on. So I'm not enough for myself. Like, what is the problem? And she told me something crazy. She told me that she broke my castles apart. You know what I mean? She told me, you are not able to be enough for yourself, because you're not supposed to be able to be enough for yourself. And I was like, huh? Oh.
Plot twist.
What do you mean? And she said, yeah, because love, it's a mirrored action. So you cannot love yourself if you don't learn from someone else how to love yourself. So when you're a baby, you learn how to love yourself based on how your parents or parenting figures love you, right? And so on in life, your friends, your community, your boyfriend, and so on. So she told me, the fact that you can reach the point in which you love yourself healthy, in that healthy way, the motivational speaker talking about, etc., will come when you experience that type of love. And in the moment you experience that type of love, most probably you will stay with that person forever. So you don't need to love yourself alone. So you can for sure work towards it. So loving yourself every day, like starting understanding the bad ways you're loving yourself, like what are the healthy ways. But at the end of the day, it's still a mirrored action. And we never say this. This is also something important.
I think it's the same with healing as well. I think you don't know what you need to heal unless you are having a conversation with someone and kind of pick up on their energy, their reaction to what you've said. Because sometimes you can be a certain way and have certain habits or patterns or beliefs or, I don't know, communication styles that you're so comfortable with. But just by having a conversation with someone else and seeing what their reaction is to that, it can kind of make you think, oh, did I do that right? Or is that something that is not actually true anymore? And then and it doesn't have to be in a relationship style. It can be in a friendship style, a work style. It can be anything. You heal from understanding yourself through other people. You can't do it alone. And what you're saying about love is exactly what I learned with my self-healing journey. I thought I had to isolate myself away from the world and kind of do all this introspective work and understand who I am. But it was only when I started stepping out into the world and dealing with people, then I actually understood what needed healing. I had social anxiety. How would I have known that I had social anxiety by isolating myself? Because I didn't know when I was isolating myself. It was after, when I started going out into the world and thinking, I don't feel right. So then I could start a different level of healing, because I realised that I didn't feel right in social environments. Why? And then I can start doing that process. But you learn from others. Everybody that comes into your life, you learn from them, you teach them and you learn from them. And the biggest lesson that you learn is about yourself and about how you show up in the world. Because I would be absolutely mortified if someone had told me, oh, you really hurt my feelings when you said this. And I thought that I was giving the best of the advice, and that person could be super sensitive, or that person I could have said something in a really aggressive way that had made someone feel bad. And if they didn't tell me, or if I didn't know that, how would I know not to do that again? So I kind of steered off track then. But what you said about love is completely the same with healing. It's the same all round.
Yeah, there are people that actually, I heard some mentors, people that do self-healing and stuff, saying that everyone is a reflection of ourselves. Yeah. It's a facet of ourselves. Yeah. So I think that's very true.
And when you become aware of that, when you become conscious that everybody is a reflection of you, you act differently as well. You act differently, and that's a good thing, because you can also see your faults in other people, but you can also see your good qualities in other people. And I believe that you attract people who are on the same kind of frequency or path that you are, and that's a good way to learn from others as well.